Well, here we are today at the podcast studio, Ignite, sparked by BBB. I have it on the wall so I remember what to say, Shane. I'm not like you with the big expertise and knowing what to say. So my name is Barry Moore. I'm president and CEO of the Better Business Bureau and excited to be here at Ignite Studios. And Shane, I'd love you to introduce yourself and who you are, how long you've been in Richmond, a little bit about your background.
Okay, Shane Moreland, and I have been in television news for 35 plus years, all over the country, Miami, Pittsburgh, St. Louis, West Palm, but I'm a Virginia native. I was born in the same hospital that Patsy Cline was born in Winchester, Virginia.
Wow. Didn't know that about you.
Yeah, so my mom and dad knew of her back in the day. I've been in Richmond about 7 years. And I was a news director here for quite a while and running television station newsrooms. And that's what I've been doing.
What do you do with your free time? Because there's 24 hours in a day.
Well, I have 11 children. They're all grown now, 7 girls and 4 boys, and now grandkids. And they're in Virginia Beach and here in North Carolina. But the most interesting thing I do is I am a hang glider pilot. So I spread my wings and I fly from the mountains up in Woodstock and other places. And I just spent a week in Florida flying. They tow us up with little planes and we fly around Mickey Mouse land.
You are the only person I know that spreads his wings the way you do. I got to tell you.
Right.
So
the only thing I know to keep my mind off work sometime is to jump from a cliff.
And I think I've learned that from you. You know, I've gotten to know you right before I left Richmond. You were at channel, one of the channels here locally. Mm-hmm. And we used to do business, and I used to come down, and I met you. Right. And you were a unique person to meet. I had met others of you, obviously, for decades in the car business. And there was something about you that obviously attracted us to get to know each other. Even when I lived in Pittsburgh, you and I still talked.
Right.
And not about hang gliding, but about everything else. You still don't believe you can get me off the ground, do you?
Yeah, we have things called big boy gliders, and we can get you off.
There's got to be a weight limit. I think I'm over it.
No, it's just in your mind. You'll be fine.
That's all that matters,
yeah.
Mind. So, Shane, and because I know your background, and you said 35 plus years, and Evie is sitting in with us, and she does a lot of the podcasting. Mm-hmm. She doesn't know who you are. She didn't even know your name until you just started talking. So she doesn't know your background, but I really want to draw a picture for her marketing background. She went to VCU. You don't know anything about her, but she's got a background a little bit in your world. What have you seen from 35 years, right? The changes in the media and things that you would say, you know, what you learned 35 years ago that went out the window today, or am I wrong? Everything's still the same.
No, well, 30 years ago, 20 years ago, if you wanted to have your voice heard, it had to be in radio, television, or newspaper. That was it. There was no other option. And now everybody has their own radio station. An example right now, what we're doing.
Exactly right.
Everyone has their own voice. But how do you get the largest number of people to listen to you? It's not traditional TV anymore. It can be, but it could be a podcast. It can be what people are calling influencers now. But where I like to focus is the credible information. And you can get all kind of information everywhere, but what's credible? You know, in journalism, we have the only profession protected in the U.S. Constitution, the right of free speech. And that's being curtailed left and right all the time. So I think another change in the past 35 years is the commitment. Back in the older days, you would stick through tough times. Journalists would stick through tough times. Now a journalist gets a little frustrated and they go off and do public relations or something else, which is fine. It's just not, doing the journalism work. So that's changed. And then the audience has changed. They say they want traditional news, but they really don't. And they want something that's interesting. So we've had to focus our coverage over the years on real people. As opposed to just facts and information, it's got to have an emotional connection. It's got to be a story that people are interested in. You know yourself, if you're looking through your Facebook feed, you'll click on something that's interesting to watch or interesting to read. But if it's all have facts and figures, you're going to move on. So that's changed. And I think it's a good thing. It's helped us focus on what's important to people to get their attention.
Mm-hmm. So what happens to people with your background and the future life of your title. Like, where is the future for people like you with your experience? And what about somebody Evie's age that says, I want to be Shane Moreland at a TV station for 35 years? Is it realistic, or is those days gone?
I should have more gray hair than I do. They aren't. There's always going to be a space for a story. There's always going to be a space for real information. Now, the form it's going to take is going to change. Twitter, now X, Instagram stories, TV station offshoots. There's going to be different ways to present that. But the story is going to be the story. Someone's going to have to tell the story. There's stories out there. Who's going to tell those stories? So you got to be able to change. Early on, I would say in the mid to late 90s, the journalists were trying to figure out where technology is going. Let's figure out our own technology. We're never going to do that. I'm not smart enough to figure out technology. But wherever it's moving, we have to be. Like, I'm not a big fan of Facebook, just because there's agendas driven there by the Facebook leadership. But you got to be there. That's where people are. Mm-hmm. So you have to work within the framework that you have. Just like if you wanted to tell a story back in the 60s, you had to work through the framework of a television station with a broadcast antenna. You have to do the same thing these days. Just you have to go to where the people are going to be. Where that's going to be 5 years ago, I don't know. It's going to be more fragmented. There's probably going to be some more media companies go out of business because they just can't afford to do what they do anymore. Look what we're doing here. We got a few microphones and a little box there. It's probably $500, and we're
a couple thousand.
Okay, come on.
We like to overpay.
You got to mark up. You got to mark it up. But you don't have a broadcast tower. You don't have to pay all those fees. You're not overseen by the FCC. Where the television stations have to go through all these hoops just to stay on the air, and people don't realize it. People will say, "Oh, you're just about making money." Well, everyone's about making some money. You have to pay the bills. We have to do it the right way. But the oversight of what we're doing here is not near what it would be for broadcast television. So I think over the years, 5 to 10 years, you're going to see some companies just not be able to financially sustain it.
We're going to talk. We're going to do a couple podcasts here with you. A couple short, brief topics. One is going to be recommendations for people that want to be you when they grow up. What are your recommendations? What did you see with media? We're not looking to bash anybody, but where is the arrogance? Confidence is arrogance under control, according to Walter Bonds, and it's one of the NBA star. And I loved when he said that in Richmond, and I quote that a lot. And then I added when I was at the car dealership, arrogance is just arrogance. And I see that everywhere, all over Richmond, in Pittsburgh, in New Jersey, different kind of arrogance, not the arrogance I see here. And so I love, and you've been all over the country, and you worked for the biggest TV conglomerate ever. And so I think we want to talk about that in the next couple episodes. We're going to cut this one short. But again, we're going to talk about how we can get Shane Moreland out there on the airwaves and telling this story, because that's what podcasting is. It's that easy. Rich Jacobs did and he came out of one of the big radio stations in Richmond, and now he's with Try Smart. He's like a Shane Moreland, right? I mean, he is so talented. He came here and he told people that podcasting, don't have a fear. That's why I dropped you right in here. We didn't give you a chance to think about it.
Right.
And here we are. And I know you got the expertise. But, we don't have any cameras or anything. We'll take a glamour shot before you're done. So we can put it on social media. But with that, we're going to wrap this one up. And
Can I give a tease?
Please.
Okay, and the next one?
Yeah.
What are the 3 things that you have to be to get people's attention, to be a journalist or to get people's attention? There's 3 things you have to be.
Evie's going to ask you that question shortly. Okay. All right. Well, thank you. And then we're Ignite, Sparked by BBB Podcast Studios. We will do podcasts. We love to talk to ABs, accredited businesses, consumers about any topic on our show called Sharing. But then also we would love, maybe the Shane Moreland show could go on forever. And this could be your future. And I can see a lot of advertisers dropping in. Thank you very much.